Maybe you also have a sleep tracker to sleep on the plane. We have something attached to your chin, right? Not to snore. A necklace in order to keep your posture right, and glucose that you know when you have to eat something on your flight. Hi, my name is Andre. I'm a managing director and partner at BCG Digital Ventures. As you have already heard, I'm responsible for our digital innovation in healthcare in Europe. By training, I have a background in healthcare, so I'm a trained medical doctor, turned into a digital health entrepreneur, an executive in that field, and now a digital venture builder. Before I get into the content, let me quickly share a story. So last week I did something unusual these times. I traveled and I was at an airport, and you basically cannot avoid but notice how ubiquitous wearables already are. Probably more than half of the people you see at an airport have earplugs, for example, preferably the white ones, and use it for listening to music, doing calls. So wearables are clearly here to stay. When you look at the global wearable market, this year it's projected to be around at 116 billion US dollars. So it's massive. In the next 5 years, it is forecasted to grow to 265 billion. When we focus in a little bit on the healthcare piece of that, so the healthcare wearable devices, in the next 5 years, it's around 10%, so 25 billion US dollars. So it's quite a sizable market. So therefore, my aim today is to introduce to you some opportunities and challenges around wearable medical devices. And hence I called this presentation Beyond Telemedicine, New Technologies Driving Remote Diagnostic Capabilities. And over the next, let's say 8 minutes or so, I want to cover mainly 3 areas. So the first of course, is, does it actually work, right? So do medical wearable devices deliver impact on healthcare? The second thing, is there a market? So is there someone willing to pay for that? And the third one, so yes, okay, but how does it actually work? Is there an example or something that you can show? So with that in mind, so where do we stand actually? So going back to the smartphone as maybe the first real wearable, so to say, the iPhone got introduced in 2007. So right now we are waiting for the iPhone 13, I guess, in September. So this is around quite a while. Yeah, things like IoT, sensors, applications, everyone is using those every single day. Again, when you look at healthcare, to be honest, like not a lot in the grand scheme of things has changed how healthcare is done and delivered over the last 20, 30 years even, right? So the experience is still, has still some room for improvement. So let's again focus on the first point. Yeah, so does it work? Well, first of all, I have to say the tech is getting much better. Yeah, so it's smaller, it's faster, it's more independent. Things like size of the chip, obviously speed that calculations can be done. It's more independent in terms of edge computing and so on. The screenshots that you see here, I took actually last night while I was scrolling through my Instagram. Yeah, so you can see here several examples where the lines actually are blurring between lifestyle and healthcare, right? Like you can improve your sleep, your posture, your snoring, or you could even measure your blood glucose level in terms of optimizing your athletic performance. And obviously Apple is again like pushing the boundaries here with blood pressure measuring and wrist thermometer in the next Apple Watch, most likely. What you can say is there is a growing acceptance around wearable medical devices. And like I said, there is basically a fluent boundary between lifestyle and healthcare already. So is there something that can be done and is it working? I think this one can be answered with a clear yes. The second one around, is there a market? So normally if there would be a real audience, I would ask you who was around when the pandemic happened, right? So obviously we all have experienced over the last 1.5 years by now how this has impacted our life massively, and also how we experience healthcare. Before that, it was normal for us that we go physically to a doctor. So now there are several reasons, and last year there even more so, before there was a vaccine, several reasons why we would not expose us potentially to a virus in a doctor's office or a hospital. So telehealth, telemedicine experienced a real boom, right? So you can see that on the left-hand side, and that affected both sides, so patients and doctors. Even taking this huge uptake in April, May last year out of it, it's still a massive increase from like 1% to roughly 20%, right? If you look at the chart. So these numbers were taken from the MBEL survey in the US last year. Another thing I want to mention, so this is obviously the demand side of the marketplace. Supply will follow, right? There are massive amounts of startups receiving a lot of funding in the area because the promise is very big. Looking to Germany, Germany all of a sudden became one of the most attractive markets for digital health applications because the legislation and regulatory environment became much more favorable. For the first time, there is a clear pathway for startups and other companies in order to have a go-to-market approach, right? And ultimately achieve reimbursement with the public insurers that cover actually 90% of the market in Germany. So, second question around, is there a market? Clearly, yes, there is a market, and there is someone who will pay for it. The third thing I wanted to explore is around, so yes, so this is all good, but are there real examples and what have we done? So I brought an example from our work at Digital Ventures where we built Miya. Miya, you can call an operating system for virtual care. And it covers diseases like COPD, diabetes, heart failure, and hypertension. When you sign up for Miya, you get a setup kit. And the setup kit not only includes a cellular router in order to have Wi-Fi access, also a tablet, but then other devices in order to measure your blood pressure, a pulse oximeter, a sleep sensor, and a weight scale. Right? And this data gets collected and fed in a data lake, analyzed, and then presented in a very consumer-friendly way to both doctors and patients. So the outcome and what can be achieved is obviously a remote monitoring of chronically ill patients. And the ultimate goal is to avoid hospitalization and unnecessary trips to the doctor. So far, this is in the market for 3 years now, roughly, and the impact is very positive. And that tells the story, how can you do that, right? So any solution that you can put in the market, obviously there's the tech side and that has to work. But the other element is you have to unify the multiple stakeholders in the healthcare system. So in that case here, at a minimum, the stakeholders that were engaged are the patient, the doctor who can see the data and work with the results and the output, but also the payers, because you can save them cost for basically unnecessary doctor visits or hospital stays. So in conclusion, again, the third one, yes, this can be done, right? So in conclusion, I've covered these 3 areas. So does it work in healthcare? Is there a market? And how can it be done? And I think it's a very promising field. If you go back to the story that I mentioned initially at the airport, right? I believe, looking forward, as a final thought, yeah, maybe in 5 years from now, people are not just walking around with their earplugs in to listen to music or do calls. Maybe you also have a sleep tracker to sleep on the plane. We have something attached to your chin, right? Not to snore. A necklace in order to keep your posture right, and glucose that you know when you have to eat something on your flight. So I think there is a bright future for wearable medical devices. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening, and please let's stay in touch and yeah, keep up the conversation.